It's almost Friday, my friends. How are you? Thank you for being here. Welcome back to the channel. Rebecca already said it. Thumbs up as we're getting settled. If you don't mind giving it a like, if you don't like the show, you can always take it away. It's all right. Who did I miss? TLC is me. Good morning. Mama Bear's in the house. Magenta, how you doing, girlfriend? Pale Rider was at the pre-party. Connie was at the pre-party. Good morning, Mary. True Crime Beat said she's dealing with a headache this morning. Is it from the heat? A lot of people are complaining about headaches. I have a feeling it has to do with the heat. Good morning, Sailor. Hello, Mississippi RN. Juno was at the pre-party. There's our friend Angel P, Tony B, that rhymed. Woo! What a week this has been. I heard there was a lot going on the YouTube streets last night. I don't have enough TVs or eyes to keep up with everything, but the people at Humans Without Souls, or the person that owns the channel, is, I guess, out of the hospital now, so they're back on it, because that's how I used to keep up with what was going on, because they had it like the condensed version for me, like Campbell's soup. They had it condensed for me. But this week, Colonel Sanders and Mommy Dearest had a hearing. And woo! Talk about entitlement. You're going to hear in this hearing quite a bit the word privilege, privilege, privilege. And I'm taking privilege to a different level because she is probably the most privileged person I've ever run across in any of these cases. I've never seen so many law officials bend over backward for her. Bitch got to go to the prom. I'll put it up. Look at her. She got to go to the prom. She got to attend her high school graduation. Now, she's college bound. She's on her way to Las Cruces, New Mexico. Thank you, Izzy, for the super sticker. Thank you, thank you. PJ said something and I missed it. PJ said this case felt relatable to me. I don't know what actually happened with this young lady, but I definitely would never do what she did. Just know my mom would disown me at that age if that happened. Yeah. She would rather murder her child, allegedly, than tell her mom she's been getting it on with the prom date. But there's a lot more to that, too. I think there was a lot more to that because there's been a lot of rumors that he was cheating on her. Woo! One thing after another. So while people are getting settled in here, give me a second to bitch about the heat. Won't take me too long. It's not just hot, it's humid. We call it air you can wear.
As we go into the afternoon, more of the same. Those dangerously hot and humid conditions are going to continue for us today and probably into the first half of the weekend. I think we start to taper it off, though, once we get into Sunday and especially as we head into early next week. But heat index values today will be up in that 110 to 115 degree range. So again, it is going to be a hot and humid day. We mentioned the relief on the way as well, and keeping on that next chance of any showers and storms that may arrive with the cool down, if you want to call it a cool down, going into Sunday and Sunday night. As we take a look at that weekend forecast, you can see our high temperature on Saturday still in near 101. Heat index values expected between about 110 to 115. So we still have the heat around on Saturday. On Sunday, 93 for the high temperature. That's a bit better. And we may get a few showers and storms to pop up by later in the day and into Sunday night. And something that might even try to linger into very early on Monday morning, but I think most of us should dry out as we go into Monday, and not everybody will see rain. That just looks like our next chance to at least have some showers and storms in the area. Nothing around for today. We've got that ridge of high pressure almost right on top of us at the moment, and that is keeping the storm track well off to our west, to our north, and to our east. And underneath this ridge of high pressure, we've got a lot of hot air. Now, what will happen as we go into the weekend, this is going to weaken a little bit, and it's also going to back its way a little farther to the west. So that will open the door up for a front to come south, and that is what will help cool us down.
It's just damn hot. Okay, it's going to be 105 today. I don't even want to hear about the heat index. This time of year in Oklahoma, you drive by the bank, you don't know if it's the time or the temperature. Is it 110 outside or is it 110 in the afternoon? We don't know. Let's take a second and tell everybody hi. Welcome your neighbor above you. Welcome your neighbor below you. Yeah, this heat's making OJ very lethargic. All he wants to do is sleep and eat. Howdy, howdy. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. The fact that you guys show up every morning just fills my heart. It truly does. It makes me know that, you are the best peeps on the streets for sure, because we know there's a lot that goes on YouTube. The good thing about YouTube is you can make a total ass out of yourself on Monday, and by 2:00 the next afternoon, someone's topped you. I'll give YouTube that much credit. All right, let's get to the comments from the last show about Alexee. I'm going to put the link up if anybody wants to come up and go through this with me, because the entitlement is just insane. Absolutely insane. After the last show about Alexee, our friend Kat said, wow, just caught up on this epic show. So Alexee really thinks she's hot stuff, huh? The lack of concern and emotion for that little baby boy is astounding. I don't know how her, the boyfriend, or the mothers, not just Alexee's mother, Mr. Boyfriend's mother, can sleep at night. Yes, his son was put in the trash can to die. Their grandson was put in the trash can to die. Kat goes on to say, it's disgusting. This case is so upsetting for those of us who cannot conceive, carry, or have lost babies. That comment made me tear up, because for people that have struggled with infertility and they see someone, well, they didn't see him personally, give birth to a beautiful little baby boy and put him in the trash, and when they find him, the plastic bag she put around him was suctioned to his face. I'm not a doctor, but common sense tells you he was trying to breathe. JT says there's no excuse for leaving her baby in the trash to die. I have not 1 ounce of sympathy for her. Put me on that jury. What she did was completely twisted, wrong, and incomprehensible. Rebecca Gable said her mother said, we talked about this. Well, why did they? You will never convince me her mom didn't know, ever. This young woman lied when she said she'd never had sex, so why believe anything she says? Exactly. You're right there in the ER. She'd been having back pain since the day before. That's called labor. That's called labor. Then she said she's got to poop really bad. No, that was not a big turd. She was giving birth. So she lied again. How can you ever believe what she says? Laura said, are they going to sue McDonald's for the weight gain too? This is ridiculous. Yes, some people are calling this the Big Mac defense because when Alexee said she didn't know she was pregnant and her attorney, Colonel Sanders, I'll put a little clip of him up who he reminds me of.
As tasty and delicious as it ever was. I'm Colonel Sanders. And I'm back, America. I'm back, America. It's still finger-licking good.
Yeah, this dude reminds me of Colonel Sanders so bad. So her defense, or lack thereof, is that she just thought that she had gained all that weight in her belly because her and the boyfriend were eating at McDonald's every day. I don't know about you guys, but who could eat at McDonald's every single day? I hate to sound like Daisy, but I need those receipts. Come on. This right here is not a Big Mac belly. You see that? This is in no way, shape, or form a Big Mac belly. Snazzy says her right to medical privacy was null and void when she had a policeman and mom in the room. The hallway is a public area also. Yep, they love to pull that HIPAA shit, don't they? They love it. Kat said she probably ate the receipts too. Yeah. Something's up. Let's go to the beginning of this case, just for a little reminder. Then we're going to get to the hearing.
New video of a cheerleader who secretly gave birth in a hospital and then, according to authorities, left her baby to die in a garbage can. She claims she didn't know she was pregnant and panicked. But as Amber Cogliano reports, many say looking at this video of her with her squad, she had to know she was expecting.
It's dramatic, just-released body cam video of cops arresting a teenage cheerleader for allegedly murdering her newborn baby while her mom questions cops.
What is she under arrest for?
She has a warrant for arrest. Okay?
For what?
That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay?
What do you mean that's all you're going to tell me?
Safe to say that her mom is part of the problem. What do you mean that's all you're going to tell me? That's all I'm going to tell you. Twat. She's 19. She's 19. I don't need to tell you anything. For what? For what? Well, if you don't remember, Rosa, when you left the hospital, your daughter left your grandson in the trash can. For what? For what?
19-year-old Alexee Treviso appears calm as she packs a small bag of personal items before being taken from her home. But her mom is distraught as she watches her daughter being handcuffed by cops. Cops say she left her baby boy in the trash in a hospital bathroom.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom. Oh my gosh. That's very... He came out and he didn't know what to do.
Alexee says she had no idea she was pregnant and went to the ER for back pain. But is that believable? Check out this video of Alexee performing on her high school cheerleading squad less than 3 weeks before she gave birth. Cops say that's a baby bump showing and she must have known she was pregnant. I spoke with her defense attorney, Gary Mitchell. In the video, she clearly has a baby bump. How can she say she didn't know she was pregnant?
That's what she thought. She thought she wasn't pregnant because she's still having her monthly cycle, and that's a big issue.
Gary,
You don't think she looks pregnant in that video?
I don't make a judgment on that, and I can't make a judgment on that.
This body cam video shows the somber moment cops talk to Alexee's boyfriend, Devin Fierro, in a hospital waiting room.
You are more than likely would be the father? Okay.
Alexee is free on $100,000 bail.
Alexee Treviso has pled not guilty to first-degree murder.
Well, good luck, because even though Gary Mitchell talks a good game, a lot of the experts are weighing in, saying they've got an uphill battle. Kiki says, Brooks, my dear, I hope you're well today. I got behind because my housekeeper wouldn't stop talking to me. Well, I'm glad you're here. Tell her to join the show. All right, Alexee, has gotten permission to go to college. Personally, I don't think she should have any contact with the boyfriend. None. What if she gets pregnant again? If I was the state, I'd be like, look, we're going to clip old boy, because we already know he has a wandering eye. So this is the fun that Alexee is getting ready to have. This is the university she's going to in Las Cruces. All kinds of stuff for Alexee to do. According to her mother, she doesn't even know her own social security number, but she knows how to have fun. Joy Callie is making it rain. Look at that. Gamer Lover, Rhonda, Michelle, Sylvia have all been gifted. Angela K gifted memberships by our friend Joy Callie. Let's have a round of applause for our friend Joy making it rain. Making it rain. Thank you, Joy. Grab an umbrella. All right, let's get to this motion hearing, which is bizarre. Okay, it is bizarre. Everybody is entitled to a good defense, a great defense. Don't get me wrong. They're entitled to that. Whoever it is, whatever they've done. But this has taken it to a different level. We have the McDonald's defense that she was eating too many Big Macs, and that's the reason she thought her belly was getting big. Claims that the nurse killed her baby, but she was the only one in the bathroom. No nurse put her baby into a trash bag and put it in the trash can. Negligence of the hospital. That's another claim. And malpractice can take years and years and years to figure out. Someone has surgery and they go to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, and they finally say, looks like somebody left a sponge in you or something like that, you know? Then they get a malpractice attorney. But when you leave the hospital without your baby, you don't wait to get charged with first-degree murder and then scream malpractice. That's going to bite her in the ass, in my opinion. Mama Bear, thank you for the super sticker. Me love you long time. All right, let me take a deep breath, and we're going to get through this. Kat played it for everybody in Discord the other day. I was dicking off with OJ or something. I don't know what I had going on, so I didn't get to watch it with everybody in Discord, so we're doing it here right now.
And Mr. Mitchell, I'll let you tell me what I need to know that hear from Ms. Luce. And I do have your pleadings here, of course.
Sure, and I'm not going to repeat those. Your Honor, classically, we'd have a hearing over whether or not Eddy County is free from exception, and I'd file affidavits and do all that. But the new basis for doing these change of venue motions virtually has turned into something that was suggested several decades ago by judges like Allen and some of those judges. Whenever we would, they suggested that rather than do change of venue motions, that we send out and ask the courts for questionnaires, and we send out questionnaires that we ask people to fill out under oath, and then the council reviews those questionnaires to see if by perchance we can get a jury, which seems to
already bringing up the jury. You're going to hear what he says about this. Worldwide coverage, nationwide coverage. Now, if you look over his right shoulder, you see Mommy Dearest, Big Mac Queen, who seems very unaffected by what's going on in front of her. I guess she's wondering when the first mixer at college is going to be. I don't know. But I mean, if you watch her, she's very unaffected by this.
To be much cheaper and frankly a better way to do it. Ms. Luce kindly sent me the latest questionnaire that they used in a similar case out of Hobbs or out of Lovington. I got that. She and I can make some modifications to that. The trial date you sent earlier today is acceptable to me. I think it's acceptable to Ms. Luce, and we can figure out with you and the court clerk when we should send those questionnaires out via Google. However we're going to do them, that's up to the clerk, but I'll get with Ms. Luce. We can work up that jury questionnaire, get it sent out once we get the new panels that would be sitting for that trial. And then when we get the information, we can figure out when counsel can sit down and go through that with the court, move to strike certain jurors who, by the answers on the jury questionnaires, have given us sufficient information for which they could not sit fairly and impartially, and decide if we have enough jurors to select from, and then go from there. I would propose that to the court as a way to resolve this issue rather than have a lengthy hearing today over whether or not this case has nationwide publicity, countywide publicity, statewide publicity, or world publicity. It has all of them, frankly. So trying to move to another jurisdiction in New Mexico may not be very suitable, since the whole state has some of the same media sources, and particularly social media has been so explicit in this particular instance.
And he's laying the groundwork for an appeal. He's already putting it out there, or as Murdoch would say, appeal. Nationwide publicity. Social media has been explicit. Well, yeah, that's what happens when people hear about someone leaving a baby in a trash can. Of course, they're going to have something to say about it.
That's the solution I propose.
All right. And are you on board with that, Ms. Luce? I mean, it sounds rational. We all know there's no place to go that somebody hasn't heard about the case, which is that's not the standard for qualifying or disqualifying, but nevertheless, there's no place we can go that would be any different, my opinion, than Eddy County. And I think that's what I'm hearing from Mr. Mitchell. Are you on board at least with the concepts?
Yes, Your Honor. That's why I provided the supplemental questionnaire we used in the case that we tried in Lovington, so that he could see the questions we did. Obviously, he and I can confer. If we can't agree, then on it, we can have a hearing before the court. But I think if we can agree, then we can just submit it for the court's approval. The court can submit it to the clerk's office, and then they'll digitally upload it as they did in Lovington, and then they'll send it out paper for jurors that need that. But I think that resolves that motion for today.
Okay. And folks, let me it's above my pay grade. I don't know how Martha does her work down in the clerk's office, but
above her pay grade. See, I'm having some problems with the judge already. Above her pay grade, she's the effing judge. I don't know how Martha in the court clerk's office does things. Well, call Martha. Martha works for you.
My suggestion is that we get with her early enough, and this trial's not going anytime soon, so we should have adequate time to let her know we're going to have to get an unusually large number of jurors pulled in to examine a panel. I mean, just the length of the trial alone is going to make it difficult to get an adequate veneer to pick from. So at least we've got some ramp up time, and then I'll let Martha know, kind of be warned, we're going to have a really, really large number of prospective jurors to sort out, I think, in this case, just to get enough people to sit on a panel. And I think you told me you expected.
And how exactly are you going to panel these jurors? Because it's going to be hard to find someone. It's going to be easy to find people that don't follow true crime. Believe it or not, there's people out there that are not like us. We go to dinner with our friends, Chris and Maria. They'll say, what's going on your channel? I tell them a little bit about a few cases, and they're like, oh, I've never heard about that. How do you find this stuff out? And then we're on to something else. It's very common for people to not care about crime. They just don't care. They're like, that's the police's job. You know, I walk by the TV in the morning on the way out to work. I hear a little bit about it and I'm good. I'm done. And I'm so glad that beautiful Messy Ball put that up. Outside of the true crime community, there are plenty of places that have not heard about this case, and plenty of people that have not, they don't follow crime. They don't follow it.
It's 6 weeks to try this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I estimated. But a lot of that goes to jury selection. But if we do, and I found, I don't know if Ms. Luce has found this to be the solution as well. I found if we do a decent supplemental jury questionnaire, that cuts down on the amount of time we need for voir dire. So we may be able to get it done within 4 weeks if we're not having to do.
So you're counting the 6 weeks. A good part of that you're counting also pulling a jury, right?
I am.
Okay. So the extra trial portion won't be 6 weeks. You were accounting for finding a jury to sit.
Right. I counted 2 weeks for jury selection.
Okay. All right. Well, we will keep that in mind, and I will just try to start anticipating and plan ahead as much as possible on getting that taken care of. Okay. All right. So that issue's off the table. I've got two other pending motions. I have the one to modify conditions of release. Then I have the other, which is the motion to suppress, motion for protective order, exercise of privilege, and the Pena Espinosa procedure determination. Which one do you want to handle next? You're muted, Mr. Mitchell.
I agree with Angel. I want to know, I'm going to use the judge's phrase, it's above my pay grade, but I want to know, why 2 weeks for jury selection? Now, the O.J. Simpson trial, I get. Casey Anthony, I get. But not everybody in New Mexico is all caught up in this like they think. Now, in Artesia, I have a feeling that a lot of people know about this case. So why 2 weeks? Hell, the case of Gannon Stout, it didn't take 2 weeks. And that was a horrific murder, which had been covered heavily on their news stations for 3+ years.
Let's do the privilege one next. It's
okay.
All of them, because I think I can argue the whole thing, and we'll.
Okay, you're going to hear the word privilege a lot. And I'm taking the word privilege and using it a different way, because old girl behind him, she's extremely privileged.
Save the release provisions to last. There's also a motion that I filed. The state didn't respond, but to take the deposition of one of these of one of the, I'll think here just a second. The toxicology experts that's in Pennsylvania. The states have some of their lab testing to Pennsylvania, and I didn't want to be without that expert for whatever reason. But that's something we can do later. But we probably need to take the deposition for purposes of trial of that particular witness. So we're not either one of us hung out to dry when we need that toxicologist, and we don't have them available because they're more than 300 miles away.
So this is a toxicologist for the state, and you need the deposition of this toxicologist. Am I right on understanding that?
Right. At the preliminary hearing in this matter, the state objected to my just getting into that with the forensic pathologist and or any other doctors, saying we needed to have the toxicologist here. I want to avoid that. I've dealt with that issue with the same toxicology group before, where we tried to bring them from Pennsylvania and or the state tried to bring them from Pennsylvania. And normally somebody calls me and say, Gary, can we take their statement or their deposition? And that's all I'm saying. We just need to take the deposition.
Okay, but that's not right for today. We're going to have to put that up for another hearing, right?
That's right, Judge. I'll talk to Diane about it, to the district attorney about it, see if we can reach an accommodation, if we can take that witness's deposition and introduce the report. The report's what I need and or the state may need, whichever one of us needs it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready to argue on this motion to exercise of privilege. Let me say, and there was some confusion yesterday, but we didn't send these exhibits, but to the court via your email and to the district attorney via her email. So these are exhibits I still think need to be sealed for purposes, but I sent exhibits A through I just for the purposes of this hearing. They're not to be admitted at trial or anything. I'm not asking that. Just for purposes of the hearing. They included the records of the hospital, which I think are privileged, and for the court's edification, the 2 lab reports that we needed. And then we had certain police reports, and I noticed and looking here, both officers are present. I guess we could take their testimony if we need to, but I attached their reports, Williams and Anaya. And then there's a videotape that the state doesn't have that I'm aware of, nor do I have, but I've seen on people send it on social media. It's from Artesia General Hospital, and it's a videotape of my client going from a examining room down the hall to the bathroom and then coming back.
Yeah, we've all seen it, at least in here. She goes running down the hall. She said she had to do a number 2, but she was doing more than that because she was the baby was ready to come out. But this is what he's going to really try to argue is the HIPAA violation. But then he talks himself back into the corner. He's saying that all this stuff is privileged. Listen, when a crime occurs, your privacy goes out the window.
Another Artesia police officer took that tape, figured out a time schedule. That's Exhibit G, a timeline. I believe that was Officer Minter, and I attached his report showing the timeline. And then there's the videotape that we seek to suppress, where police officers, the doctor, and my client are and her mother are in the examining room. That's the Miranda issues. And then I did a timeline of events to give the court, without you having to examine every medical record, to give you a timeline of what we're talking about here. So I'm asking that those be admitted for purposes of this hearing and that they be sealed.
All right. Any objection, Ms. Luce?
Your Honor, I don't have objection to the video, to the police reports, to the lab reports for purposes of this hearing. The timeline that has a caption on it appears to be Mr. Mitchell's work product summary of what everything purports to be and purports to happen. If that's a proffer by him of what evidence is, and the court is to consider it only as a proffer, the state doesn't have an objection. Otherwise, that's basically argument. And the state's going to object to that being a written document, with us only getting it last night, coming in before the court.
Okay, I saw a thumbs up, from Mr. Mitchell, right?
Judge, and I knew that, and I expected to just use it as a proffer of what the records show. Ms. Luce didn't say anything about Exhibit A, which are the medical records that came from Artesia. I copied those straight from what the state gave to me. So I don't know if the state has an objection to those. You're going to have to look at them some point in time to decide what is going to be admissible and not admissible under the privilege.
Now, counsel, I don't have any of these actual exhibits you're referencing. Where are they? Have you tendered them?
We sent them to your TCA via email yesterday, and she should have them.
You did? Okay, she said she sent them to my email. Let me check. I'm sorry, I missed them on my email if she did. Hang on a minute. Let me look.
It's a lot. It took several emails. I think we put them on a.
I'm not sure. I've got one that does not appear. It's a reference. Here's the link for Exhibit F. That's not it, right?
Well, there's an Exhibit F, but we put them on a link for purposes of the court. I didn't anticipate that you'd be able to go through them all. I figured you might take some under advisement after you heard from counsel today.
I will do. And Emily, will you do this? Print them up for me. Just print them and we'll put them in a folder also, because it just helps me to have them in hard form. She'll get them up and I'll look at them later. Will that work for you folks as far as this goes?
It will, Judge, because the argument is going to be, anyway. Okay. I do need to know if the state objects to Exhibit A, which were their medical records.
Your Honor, not for purposes of this hearing, for the court to consider them. Of any objection to any of these, as I've let defense counsel know, being sealed, not public for purposes of the record for various reasons. And so I don't have a problem with that, Your Honor, but I just wanted to make sure that the one that is, I believe, the timeline of events was the proffer to the court. Since it had a caption on it, it appeared to be prepared by Mr. Mitchell or along with his staff.
It was prepared by me, Judge, and a proffer is all it is. And that's really put the style of the case on it. So
okay. Okay.
All right.
So, all right. With that said, let me hear your argument, Mr.
Sure, Judge, and I'll be as succinct as possible. And when the court reviews the argument that Ms. Luce made regarding HIPAA and the argument I made, we both agree under the law there's not a remedy under HIPAA for one exercising the privilege. There are fines that a hospital and doctors pay for violation of HIPAA, but that has to do with the Department of Justice and their investigation and Medicare and Medicaid and whatever they decide to do. But for the individual, there's no remedy under federal law under HIPAA that you could exercise. You can't sue for damages or anything like that. So,
okay, he keeps saying he's going to be as distinct as possible. I'm going to help the colonel out. They can't do shit about HIPAA because a baby was found dead in a hospital trash can. See, then it becomes a criminal investigation. I'm going to put the link up because I know Angel can explain it further.
My purpose in bringing this today, however, is under New Mexico law, and I cited the court to this. Rule 11-504 is a physician-patient privilege in the state of New Mexico that we believe applies. And I, in my brief, cited the court to Bertrand and Roper, which are the two key cases for the exercise of that privilege. Our position is we have not waived this privilege in any way. We did not sign a waiver. It applies to the doctor. It applies to all hospital personnel. It applies to Artesia General Hospital. And later on, it applies to the hospital in Roswell.
So is he trying to say that it should have been kept secret that a baby was found in the trash can with a plastic bag around his little baby face that was suctioned to his face because he was trying to breathe? Let's bring up our friend Angel. She's a registered nurse, has been for a long time, and she can explain. Thank you, my friend.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good. I ask Susan this all the time when she comes on for the Harmony show. So, because I've got to ask you on this one, how's your blood pressure? Because I know you're getting pissed.
Well, you know, I haven't took my medicine yet, so it's getting on up there, girl. Yeah, this HIPAA thing, you know, HIPAA is to protect patients' rights and privacy. But just like when you're a counselor, for example, and somebody comes in and says they want to harm themselves, or they have a plan, detailed plan, and or they want to harm someone else, we have what's called a duty to warn. Okay, that is, you know, what we do for that situation. Now, as far as when you do something like this to your newborn son, you can take HIPAA and throw it out the back window because there's obvious bad, fatal harm.
And in a nutshell, Angel explained it. You can take HIPAA and throw it out the back window because she committed a crime, allegedly.
A horrible crime. A just god-awful crime. She's making
not
me
just
sick.
suspected. She's not accused. She's charged with it. She's going to trial.
Where is her mama? Her mama's not in that room. I'm so surprised. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to change the subject.
No, I was wondering the same thing too. I'm like, where the hell is Rosa? Maybe maybe the attorney smartened up and was like, we're not dealing with your mom today.
Well, she could be on the other side of the door with a glass listening. You never know.
I don't put anything past Rosa. Hell, if we see the blinds open up, that means she's out there with suction cups looking through the blinds.
There you go. There you go.
Where she was taken. So and that's one reason I attached a timeline so the court could know. This entire case hinges around what happens in a bathroom and the emergency room of Artesia General Hospital on the date in question, which was January 27th of 2023. The timeline will tell you that there's one admission sheet that says 12:03, but by 12:05, she's in the emergency room. And then within a few minutes, she receives medication and through an IV, and including morphine and several other different kinds of medication. It's a timeline would reflect. Without getting into that too much, she's examined by an emergency room doctor. She has a nurse that's there. People come in. The hospital asks for a UA. And blood. They do a blood test, and by 12:51, they know that she's pregnant. And then we know, when it comes to this privilege, that according to and they happen to have a video camera or some type of camera in the emergency room part of Artesia General Hospital that shows her leaving her room. And we know from the records that at 1:39, she leaves they go in, they unhook her from the IV, let her get up. She virtually runs down the hall, trots down the hall to the bathroom. And then, according to the police report that you have from Officer Minter of the Artesia Police Department, who reviews that video and goes through it, she's in the bathroom for approximately 18 minutes and then leaves the bathroom and goes back to her room, and then by a certain time period, and let me pull that up so I can speak intelligently to the court.
So I can speak intelligently to the court. Well, I think you're sizing it up good for us. They knew she was pregnant at 12:51. She was in the bathroom for 18 minutes. She went back to her room and didn't say, hey, there was a baby came out of me.
That's right. That's right. And don't forget, she was not cooperative, and she did not let them do a good examination on her. She didn't disrobe or anything when she came in.
Beautiful Messy Ball says, love how Mr. Gary Mitchell consistently and conveniently leaves out the phentermine and the plastic bag.
Exactly.
Rebecca said, so the baby, when she had the baby, did he cut his own cord and wrap himself up in a trash bag and jump into the trash can?
Exactly. And of course, he skipped over that part in his little story right now. He went from the bathroom to now she's back in the bed.
Nicey said she lied to the nurses and doctors. Yes, she insisted she was a virgin and she was just having back pains.
That's right.
And she had a Big Mac belly.
You can't have it both ways, girl.
And if I was that boyfriend, if he had any salt in his sack at all, him and his mama should sue her for wrongful death.
Absolutely.
But they're just looking at what's going to happen in Las Cruces next week.
Mm-hmm.
Going to college.
We know that after the 18 minutes in the bathroom, we know she's back in the room. And we know that emergency room personnel go in and they begin, the cleaning staff goes in and they begin to clean the bathroom. And later and that begins at 2:08. And then by 2:27, they find the baby. And at 2:38, the doctor pronounces death. And then police arrive after that. So when the police arrive, the doctor wants to wait for the police to get there. I don't think this is disputed at all. She waits to talk to the two officers from Artesia Police Department, both of whom I've attached their reports, the sergeant and the officer that came in. And I've attached those as exhibits. So they come in, they talk to the doctor, and then they go in the room where she is. And the doctor walks up to her and asks her and tells her they found the baby and asks her, says something to her. You have the videotape of that. It's a lengthy videotape for you to examine of that time period with the officers there. The officers both say in their report that they told her she was detained, could not leave, and for purposes of Miranda, I would argue in custody and not free to leave, which means that at no time is there anything read about Miranda, which gets us to the suppression issue. But back to the privilege, the key question is to determine, when does this privilege apply? Well, it applied from the first time she went to the hospital. That's real clear under the rule and under the case law, and it applies to everybody there. And really, the state's case is the time in the bathroom. And then it applies afterwards as well.
Okay. Gary, you're exactly right. The state's case is the time in the bathroom. Rebecca, at the same time, said she didn't even pull the emergency cord. There's one by the toilet.
Oh, yeah. There's no excuse for her behavior. I mean, that's just common sense. It's nobody's fault but hers that she did not pull the cord, that she wasn't honest, and the worst of all, that she wrapped plastic around a breathing baby because there was moisture in the bag, and put it on top of the clean bags at the bottom of the can and under the garbage. That was the bag they were currently using. There was a lot of extra effort put into hiding, as we said before, consciousness of guilt. Her behavior indicates that she knew what she was doing was wrong.
That's why she covered it up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because at no point in a hospital full of doctors, nurses, people that could help her own mother, did she ask for help. I guess she honestly thought that she would just go home and nobody would ever find the baby in the trash can.
Right? That's the way it looks.
So my position to the court is everything that takes place between the time she goes to the hospital all the way through is privileged information that the doctors and the nurses could not give out to Artesia Police Department, could not give out to anybody without a waiver from my client, and we've never waived it.
Okay, so this is where I'm getting really, really, really pissed. The whole thing is maddening. His argument is ridiculous. She never signed a waiver. So you find a dead baby in the trash can and you can't relay to the police what was going on? Make it make sense, Angel.
No, that's not right. That's not true. He's just skipping over the fact of what the final outcome is, what the final discovery was. Yes, you can tell everything that happened when it leads to the death of someone, to harming someone fatally. That's ridiculous.
So if somebody comes into the ER and let's say you're on duty and you can see that they have been stabbed multiple times, do you have to get a HIPAA waiver from them so you can call the police?
Right. How stupid would that be? I know you've been stabbed and attacked, but before we can do anything, even treat you, you need to sign this piece of paper here that says yada yada yada. No, no. When there is harm to someone, serious harm, or even death, like I said, toss HIPAA out the window, out the back window, throw it away. It's garbage. She has no right. She has no right to keep all that information to herself, which resulted in the death of a newborn baby. No. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. You know, when she's in a room there doing everything that she's done, she's signed the form to treat them, to let them treat her, but then she doesn't let them treat her. You know, you have to sign a form when you're admitted, basically for insurance purposes and everything else. But yet she's not being forthcoming about what's going on with her. Then wants to turn around and say, well, you know, you shouldn't even be allowed to know all the bad things that I did that led up to this outcome. No, we have every right to we have every right to know because of this child, this newborn.
Absolutely. And on the other side of it, the district attorney said that bathroom became a crime scene when she wrapped up her baby in a plastic bag and put him face down in a trash can.
That's exactly right.
So your right to privacy is gone. Now, this HIPAA argument started with Rosa. So I'm skipping back and forth. We're going to go back to Colonel Sanders here in a second. This is what Rosa confronted the police with the day after.
Ms. Rodriguez? Yes. At the hospital. You've been talking to my supervisor.
Yes,
Okay.
Sergeant Chris. Yes. Will it be you guys tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. I told him at 10 o'clock you could come over.
Okay.
Okay. You and your CYFD person.
Yes.
I'm better. It's
Okay.
just her, but you know.
So have you, are you family?
She goes, I'm better. Did anyone ask how Rosa was doing? And I apologize, it's not the day after. This is January 30th, so a few days after. I'm better. Did anyone hear the officer ask her how she's doing? I think they've already had a gut full of Rosa.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
crazy.
Yeah.
Her sister, this is my
Okay.
daughter.
I just don't want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Have you thought about therapy for her?
Not yet, but I was gonna look into it. I was gonna look on the back of the insurance card. They told me there were some numbers on the back.
Yeah, so that's how you go through our
Oh, okay.
your insured providers. Just FYI, for us, we have PMS here in town. They're the ones that most people are insured through.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
if you want to do in town, we do PMS here, and then we have one in Carlsbad, 2 in Roswell.
Okay.
That are usually on all of everybody's insurance.
Okay. Did
Something
you
to think about.
hear about like HIPAA was broke and there's like a whole bunch of rumors out?
I heard there was rumors through the high school.
Yeah.
The nurses do talk, but
now he shouldn't have said on. You can tell he's just flying by the seat of his pants. You know the nurses do talk. Why doesn't he just explain the law to her? Listen, this is going to spread like wildfire because she left a baby in a trash can. HIPAA does not apply to this. So she's bringing this up on January 30th, not about her grandson that's dead.
Grasping at straws, looking for any reason to not be held accountable for her or her daughter's behavior. Any reason.
And what's Rosa going to do when they call her to the stand and say, well, Alexee was living with you and going to high school. How many nights a week was she out with her boyfriend? When did you start noticing her stomach getting bigger?
Exactly. Don't think they're not going to ask her some questions.
Oh, Muscles and Mascara said, this is the problem. Thank you for the super sticker. Self-centered behavior directly taught by the mother. Then she acts surprised when the daughter does it. This is exactly what is wrong with our country. No accountability.
I love that. What a great point.
I put a video on the channel yesterday about a girl who faked cancer. Faked it. And now she's claiming mental illness. She wasn't ill when she was collecting tens of thousands of dollars.
I saw that, Brooks. That's so awful.
It is. And this is awful what they're doing.
Yeah, that's just small town stuff.
But that shouldn't have happened.
It shouldn't
That's
have.
why it's HIPAA.
And I know. Well, and because I was reading on that, and like on Facebook, everyone's doing all that stuff. Because we did do a disclosure, and that was through our person of contact. That's our PSU command supervisor. So he did do one. He didn't put any name in it or anything like that. And that's just something he did because he was being asked about it for so long.
Okay.
So that one was done, but then I hear like the high school's talking a lot.
Yeah. I had teachers message me and everything. So.
Really? So everyone already knows.
Yeah. That's the bad thing about a small town.
Yeah, that is the best thing about a small town.
Rosa, shut up. Shut up, Rosa. But that's against HIPAA. She's out of her damn mind. I'll go back to my stabbing scenario or shooting scenario. Somebody comes to the ER and they have been violently attacked. There's no HIPAA. The police have to get involved.
That's right. That's a criminal investigation.
It is a criminal investigation. Like you said, throw it out the back window. But old Gary's not going to give up on this HIPAA thing. I mean, is he looking for a civil suit or to win a criminal trial? I'm confused.
Well, you know, the thing that's so ridiculous about it, if you think about it too, is if there were ever a reason to violate HIPAA, this is the most god-awful thing. I mean, yeah, there's a reason to violate HIPAA. It's infuriating.
Now, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that HIPAA came about when the AIDS pandemic was so rampant. And nurses outside of the hospital and outside of the doctor's office would say, that person tested positive for AIDS and that person tested positive for AIDS. And somebody brought a lawsuit saying that's my private business. And so they came up with HIPAA. Is that true? Or did the internet lie to me again?
That's true. I don't remember the exact year that HIPAA was enacted and made a protocol and procedure for everybody around all different medical care. Oh boy. Because HIPAA consists of your personal medical information, and it also consists of your personal identifying information, such as a social, a date of birth, an address, a name, anything that identifies who you are. So all of those things are normally but before that, what we used to do back in the day when we actually had a paper chart and that we didn't have all this computer charting.
And for something, really any disease, I don't care if it's a skin condition. I don't care if somebody comes in because they've got an ingrown hair under their armpit.
Right. But we would put a piece of tape on the chart because as providers, we have a right to know if we're getting ready to get exposed to some type of bloodborne pathogen or airborne disease or anything like that, So that right there was just like a secret thing that nobody really talked about.
So as it stood, medical professionals were already protecting the privacy of patients. Just with the AIDS pandemic, people got scared. And so they would say, oh, this guy has AIDS, because people believe that AIDS could be spread through sitting on a toilet seat.
Yes. And a lot of that was about fear, because there was not a lot of education. Then there was the social stigma. So, that kind of got really focused on. But again, the things that he's talking about are just ridiculous. I mean, if there's ever a time to violate HIPAA, it would be now. It would be now in this situation. This is the worst outcome and the most god-awful behavior I've ever seen in my life.
And this is not a HIPAA situation.
He's
just keep throwing shit at the wall to find what sticks. And the judge is entertaining him because she has to. She can't go into trial biased, if you know what I mean. So she has to sit there and listen to this shit. It's kind of like he's playing his cards before anyone even realizes what the game is.
That's correct. For example, on a mental health unit, let's say Sissy is admitted as a patient, and Sissy's sister is calling the floor wanting to know what in the world's going on. Well, when you answer the phone, unless that person has a code or is on the release, you have to say, I'm sorry, I cannot verify or deny if this person is a patient here. And people get really pissed, especially if they're family. And then some people might think, well, if they're family, they should know. No, sometimes family is part of the problem. So you have to always say, I cannot confirm or deny that that person is here. If you'd like to leave a message and that person is here, they will see it and get the message. Something like that. But you don't ever violate anybody's confidentiality.
Unless they commit a crime at your facility.
That's correct.
Then it goes through the police and it goes on the scanner. It's on the blotter, you name it, and it's going to hit the media.
Absolutely.
Hate to tell Rosa, but it's not her world.
In addition,
now, are you talking statements made by her and her medical records?
Yes, Your Honor, and that would also include lab reports and stuff. Okay. Anything that happens at Artesia General Hospital, and there's a case on that as well that says, hey, that includes lab
reports. I
report.
want to look at the annotations. I don't see that. I'll have to pull it. Let me ask you another question. Is information, because obviously cleaning staff, about 2 hours after the event? Is that what you said? They go in around 2 in the morning?
Yes.
Around a little past midnight. Cleaning staff goes in around 2-ish, right?
That's correct.
And they discover the deceased child.
Yes, after they're in the, I can tell you the exact times on that based upon the records and stuff. At 2:08 in the morning, the ER staff, janitorial staff started cleaning the bathroom. At 2:27, they call in a male nurse because of what they found in the bathroom. They found the baby, and then that nurse takes the baby into an examining room. And at 2:38, the doctor pronounces the baby deceased.
So let me ask this. Notwithstanding a doctor-patient privilege, what about the hospital's obligation to report the deceased child? Is that privilege? Are you claiming that as okay? That's where I was headed. Okay.
They have a duty to report it. They call 911. It turns out that the police were there. The emergency room wasn't busy, but it turns out they were real close by anyway, and they were there quickly. But no, they have an obligation to report it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this, and I'll try to be as succinct as possible. Really, the state's case hinges on what happens in the bathroom, and there are no other witnesses but my client to that. And whatever the experts are saying, whether it's OMI, my experts, and such, are going to say about that. But basically, that's the situation. Is if for that 18 minutes, there are no other witnesses, but everything before that, because there's no case before, she doesn't have the baby except in the bathroom, Judge. That's the point.
Well, what is the point? No, there's no HIPAA jail. If you do violate someone's HIPAA violations, it's a civil suit. It's very rarely criminal unless it has to do with certain diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Her baby was found dead in the trash can.
Mm-hmm.
He says himself, there was no case until she went to the bathroom. She's the only witness to what happened. And look at her. She's like a damn wax figure behind him. This bitch isn't even breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of mixing me up. I don't even understand what he's trying to say. I mean, the thing about the housekeeper, I think he's talking about a delay in the time that the housekeeper went to the bathroom and then the baby was found. Well, excuse me, sir. If you go into a bathroom with blood all over the floor and the walls and the toilet behind the wall and everything else, I mean, are you going to just automatically, would a normal person think, oh my God, there's probably a baby in the trash can? No. She went in there and did her job. And just because his client's behavior is abnormal and disgusting doesn't mean that anything they did was not normal.
And you're exactly right, because her job wasn't to start going through the trash to see if there's a baby in there. She was there to clean up all the blood, restock the paper towels. She's the housekeeper so that someone else can use the bathroom if they need to.
There was so much blood everywhere that the first person that came in there to look had tracked bloody footprints out the door, just a little bit, they said, out, a few feet where the water fountain was. Well, you can't even walk in there and clean if you don't mop the floor first. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. The last thing you do when you're cleaning it, I mean, at least me, is you take the trash out last, because you're putting stuff in the trash, your paper towels, whatever you use, and then you take the trash out last. So now it's the housekeeper's fault?
Right. That's awful.
If anybody sees Alexee move, breathe, fart, have a baby behind him, please alert me, because I keep watching her and I wonder if she's even alive back there. Hello, Glenn. How are you? Never seen anything like this. And she can't even dress up for court. What the hell she got on? This is a motion hearing in front of the judge. And it looks like she's wearing Rose's pajamas.
And before that, there were no issues that I think aren't covered by the privilege. And then after that, obviously, they end up taking her to a room. Obviously, people see all the blood. and they realize they have to do some examination. The doctor goes in, doesn't talk to her because they don't know that she had a baby, but they think there may be other complications. And then after they confront her, the doctor and the two police officers in her room, then after that, the doctor intervenes again and says, listen, I got to helicopter her. We got to airback her to Roswell. We don't have people here in this hospital to take care of it. And she is bleeding to death if we don't get her treatment at Lovelace and Roswell. So they airbacked her to Roswell after that. And of course, the police let that happen, although she was in custody at the time that they went into the room. The doctor specifically states in the reports, and this is not in dispute because it's in the records and it's in the police reports. The doctor deliberately waits after they find the baby. The doctor deliberately waits until, and no other staff goes in until police officers arrived, and they all go in at one time. And that's where we get into the Miranda issues. So for the privilege, I'm saying everything's privileged up to the time she goes into the bathroom. Everything's privileged after she comes out because.
But a crime occurred. Everything's privileged until she went to the bathroom. Everything's privileged when she came out. So basically saying the only thing that can be shared is what happened in that bathroom, and she's the only witness. That's what he's saying. Everything else is privileged. So her saying I'm a virgin is privileged. That's according to him. Everything that happened after is privileged. Let's get to the word of the day, my friends. What is the word of the day?
What's today's secret word?
Ooh, interesting question. Let's go and ask Cocky.
Privilege.
Yep.
Privilege.
There you go.
There is no privileged information. It's all relevant.
Now, can you imagine? I mean, I'm sorry to jump ahead, but can you imagine a jury sitting there? And let's say what he was saying was right, okay? But it's not. And all they could see was that bathroom footage or whatever. So you're telling me that normal, average, common sense people would say, well, I don't know how that baby got in the trash can and got wrapped up by itself, but it sure wasn't her fault. Give me a break.
Yeah. Did he come out walking and have an affliction for trash bags? No.
Right.
So what he's saying is the only thing that can be discussed is what happened in that bathroom, and she's the only one that knows, and she's the one that said it wasn't breathing.
Yeah, well, we know what she says is so true, right?
You can't believe a damn word she says.
No.
Talk about privilege. Look at this. First degree murder. First degree murder. Most people have to sit it out until trial. They're held. They're held in jail. $100,000 bond. Allowed to attend school and graduation. She went to the prom. No ankle monitor. Required to attend counseling. Now she's off to Las Cruces to go to college.
Jesus, that is so unbelievable. I have never, I mean, that sure does not help feed into the privilege entitlement stuff. You know what I mean? That's kind of like doing that. Them doing that by letting her out under those conditions. I don't understand that at all.
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. It's raining in here. Are you guys getting wet? Tanya just gifted memberships.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya, for real. Yeah, you have a human head coming out of you. You would pull the cord and say, I might need some help in here. She could have killed herself.
Yep.
They had to medevac her to another hospital. She was going to bleed to death. And this chick was prepared just to go home and act like nothing happened.
Right. And I can't wait till they start testifying about the placenta. Mm-hmm.
Or the cord.
That's right.
Because they're going to show that cord and they're going to show that she tore it off with her damn teeth.
Yep. Like an animal, just a monster.
And look at her sitting so calm behind Colonel Sanders.
Well, I'd say she thinks that her and Mama has got everything worked out and it'll all be okay. She don't need to worry because that's how it's went her whole life.
Her whole life. Privilege. No accountability.
It's all part of the privilege.
Okay, now let me stop you here because I want to clarify. I'm looking at Rule 504. We have the doctor-patient privilege. This is an exception to the other rules. Who has the obligation? Does the doctor, and is this in case law? I'm not seeing it here in the privilege. It says, who may claim the privilege? Is the doctor obligated under this act or anything else to invoke it or at least advise the patient of their privilege or invoke it on behalf of their patient? What is their obligation?
The doctor and the hospital's obligation is until they have a proper waiver of that privilege, they can't talk about it. And here's,
okay. And then she has to make a knowing waiver after being advised what her right is in event to waive it.
Well,
right?
There's no case law on what a knowing waiver is. That's always been, did she sign a waiver?
Okay.
We've always done that on a case-by-case basis. I'm not going to tell you that I have a particular case, although I have done this in civil cases and in other cases, classically, there's a written waiver that is signed that you can waive that. And that's not done in this case. And my client is not a child. She was 19 at the time. They had the waiver from her. They never got it. And here's the problem for all of us in this case. Okay. There's a huge problem. Is mass media, social media, how it got out is, I guess, an issue that the district attorney and I will have to look to sooner or later. But the truth is, it got out. All these records, all these videos were out. Now, somebody from Artesia had to disclose that. Every one of them gave a statement to police. They shouldn't have without a waiver. They all gave records they shouldn't have without a waiver. They gave a video they shouldn't have without a waiver. And classically, when you read the case law, there are three ways. Number one, you get a waiver from the patient. Number two, a court orders it. There is no court orders in this case. They didn't go down and say, Judge, we need a search warrant. We need an order from you ordering the hospital to turn over the stuff to us. They never did that. They just did it. And then, in fact, there's a videotape in this case where the officer goes in and asks the administrator of the hospital, what do I need to do? He says, well, just send me an email. That doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it under HIPAA. It doesn't cut it under this rule. So my point is that the privilege applies. Now, I could choose to waive part of that as her attorney, or she could waive part of it. We haven't chosen to waive any of this. And as a matter of fact, the state knows this. At the very beginning of the preliminary hearing in this case and the motion, what I did was
okay, they muted him for some reason. And old girl back there, she suddenly moved her arm and put it up under her nose.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they say? No.
You know what they say about people that are in a situation and they try to cover their face?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You bet. Oh, you bet.
Okay.
For the purposes of the record, the state's just making an argument.
He acknowledged to me that the HIPAA is it's a federal issue. It's a remedy that doesn't even run to the patient, apparently.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay. So it really had no place in his motion, but it was there. So the third is the rule. And so let's start with the defense has kind of combined a lot of things together. Statements made by treating personnel, doctors, nurses, records, video. He's kind of lumped all that together. The state doesn't believe that's proper. First of all, the defendant's mother, this defendant is an adult, the defendant's mother was present at all times. You can't have privilege if a third party is present in the room. And so.
You just went mute again. I'm having trouble with this. I think it's our system. Okay, go ahead. It's about 10 seconds. Okay, go ahead. I think.
The defendant's mother is present in the room with her at the emergency room. She's not with her in the restroom, but she's with nurses, doctors, anyone speaking with her. You can't have a privilege if you have a third party present. You've already, by your own actions, letting your actor be there, waived that privilege. So statements that are made are not going to be protected under this rule. Adult, if she was a minor, that would be different. So statements, that's one thing.
You're muted again.
Records, the hospital records, the police department was given the records, but they did apply for a search warrant and obtain records properly by court order. And so a claim of privilege that we didn't get them by court order for a crime, the state believes that that is the exception and allows us to use those tests from the lab as well as the records. The third thing is apparently the claim of the security video for the hospital for the hallway. The state would submit.
You're muted again. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Your Honor, it's showing that there's somebody on as a participant that is muting people, just so that the court knows.
Okay, that's good to know. If anybody's trying to mute, please stop messing with the system, all right? You can mute yourselves, but please don't mute my litigants here. All right, go ahead.
So, Your Honor, the video in the hallway, defense is arguing that that video is privileged. The hallway would be a public corridor within the hospital. It's not a private patient room. It wasn't the restroom. The fact that other people can access that hallway and be in that hallway, we don't believe that there's any right of patient physician confidentiality for a public hallway. It wouldn't be any different than when the court has a closed proceeding in the courtroom. Whatever's going on in the hallway of the courthouse is not a protected, secluded area. And so for them to try to argue that because it shows a bathroom in the hallway where she comes in and out of, that doesn't make it patient protected privilege. So I think really you have to separate out the three.
Again, go ahead.
The three types of evidence involved from statements that are made.
The judge needs to be a little more pissed about whoever's on WebEx or Zoom or whatever they use, muting the DA, explaining there's no privilege. She's an adult. She had a third party in there with her.
Right.
This is a public hallway.
That's right.
Kat said the person's name is Chad. Chad's doing it. Damn it, Chad. We're trying to hear this.
Where her mother is in the room and then later the police are in the room. It's definitely argument for defense counsel to say that the doctors deliberately, intentionally waited for the police to go in. I think that's probably at this point an assumption on behalf of defense counsel because we've had no doctor testimony to say that. But either way, the fact that the mother was already in the room there's no right of privilege. There's no claim of privilege that's been waived. She came with her mother. She allowed her mother to be present. The court would be familiar that a patient has a right to not have other people in their room. They ask if it's okay if that person stays. That's normal treatment. The state would submit. So, Your Honor, we believe there are three different things going on here. And for defense to lump it all in and say it's all privilege before the court, we would disagree. And so we don't believe there is a privilege based on our argument to the court. I do have the officers on if the court wants to hear from them, since it is a motion to suppress of what happened once they were there. Once they were in the room, they were then had body camera. The reports have been submitted. I don't know if the court deems that sufficient. If you want to hear from them, that the state is glad to put on these witnesses. We would also ask, Your Honor, to be able to submit proposed findings and conclusions because this is a rather intricate argument, and I believe the way the defense has framed it and the way the state is framing it are very different. Thank you.
All right. It is apparent to me there may be some distinct acts or events that occurred that are privileged or may be privileged. I'm seeing other. I can't lump this into one event, a long-running event. I think we've got, for example, I'm thinking that the whatever happened in the hallway, which I think is just a video of her going from, I guess, a treatment area down the hallway into the bathroom, right? That's a public area. I can't see that video would in itself be a privileged video. I've got other questions about other parts.
And that's a very damning video because when she's running down the hall, she's holding her ass.
Yep, she is. She sure is. I don't know about this judge. I hope she's just thinking out loud.
She seems a little confused to me. I didn't like when she said, well, that's above my pay grade. I don't know, about I'm like, what do you mean you don't know about Martha in the court clerk's office? Lily, thank you for the super sticker. And also we have a new member, Kurt's training videos. Thank you so much.
I do think it's a good idea that you submit findings of fact in this case. I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Mitchell. I've got to tell you, I don't know how much of it I did see, but I was aware, I think it was around the time the pretrial detention hearing was occurring, which I did not conduct. That was not assigned to me. That was Judge Finger. There was something on the news, one of the Albuquerque channels, which I think was the video you're referencing. I think there was a physician, I guess he was an ER physician.
Judge, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just was. Who is
something?
Okay, somebody named Jad SD56 is muting us. Please stop. I'm going to have to ask him to leave this hearing.
He just left the meeting, Your Honor.
Okay.
Kick him out. You're the judge. Find out how people are getting in there and muting you.
Well, that helps.
And Judge, you were asking a question when you went on mute.
Yeah, I think I was telling you that I saw I was just passing through a room in my house and there was some news report. This was immediately after the pretrial detention hearing was conducted. And it shows a video. It shows I think it's the ER doctor. I don't know. I believe it was. And there was a police officer. I thought it was a state policeman, a police officer. And there was conversation going on. That's about all I know about that. That's the one you're referencing. Is that right, Mr. Mitchell? That she was
no. That came from an interview later on when the police are interviewing the various nursing staff. That's a charge nurse that you're talking about. That you were talking to. He also was the one that took the baby from the took the baby from the bathroom into an examining room and called the doctor to come down. That's a charge nurse.
That's different. So talk to me about, here's what I have on my mind about the state alleges that Ms. Treviso waived any privilege by allowing her mother in the room when she was in this, you say it was custodial investigation or interrogation. Does anybody speak? She was advised she was not free to go, right? Is that undisputed?
Well, they say so in their reports. And Judge, I gave you the video. You have the video among the exhibits I produced.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll see that later then. So
you can see exactly what happened. But really, in answer to the court's question, number one, my client's mother came with her into the emergency room. And she was present, except when she went down into the bathroom. She was not present in the bathroom. She was present during most of this. And then she was present later on when the doctor and the two police officers come into the room. Now, I want to be real clear about these facts. After the 18 minutes, you see my client go down the hallway to the bathroom. And then 18 minutes later, she leaves the bathroom and she comes down and goes back into the examining room. Now, the doctor went into the examining room to do a quick vaginal exam because they didn't know what had happened. They had not found the baby at that time.
Okay.
And they do a quick vaginal, she gets undressed, they do a vaginal exam. None of that's recorded, obviously, on video. It's in the privacy of the room. The doctor's there, but they have not found the baby yet. And so, again, the mother is present then. I want to be upfront about this. And then the cleaning staff finds the baby, and then they call the charge nurse. The charge nurse takes the baby into an examining room, and then calls the doctor. And then it's after that, and this was testified to, and I know I say this very respectfully to Diana. She wasn't the attorney that handled the preliminary hearing.
you're muted again.
I don't know what's going on there, but I'll keep my finger on it, Judge.
I know, I'm not touching a thing. And
we may have so many people on there that's the problem. Anyway, I was saying that after they find the baby, then is when the doctor, who also testified at the preliminary hearing, indicated she waited after they found the baby to go back and talk to her patient, my client, until police got there. They called 911. The police were there. We're not talking about a lengthy period of time here. We're talking about within minutes, really quick. And the police were there. The sergeant comes, the officer comes, and then then they talk to the doctor. They go in the room, and in the room at the time is my client, her mother, the doctor, and the two police officers are standing, and she can't leave. And that's in their reports that by that time they've got this information. They have a baby that's deceased. They have a doctor. They have the baby, and they have information, and they're going in to talk to the mother.
And let me interrupt you there now. Ms. Luce has asserted that because her mother apparently was already in the room, that statements made by your client were, I guess, impliedly waived because her mother was, and she's an adult. I think it's based on that. I mean, if she were a minor, it'd be a different situation altogether. Can you address?
Okay, let's talk about that. If a minor child, and we hate to even think about it, comes into the ER and you can tell they've been abused, does HIPAA apply, or do you get a hold of the police?
Well, if you suspect child abuse, you do what you've got to do to, if it's in the best interest of that child. You don't worry about, you have to do an investigation into that. You don't worry about that. Again, we're looking at instances of harm and instances of a horrible death. You know, it's quite painful to listen to him try to justify and say all these things. And And unfortunately, I mean, even to me, I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, it's so painful to hear all these terrible things he's saying and just dancing around the bushes and making excuses for everything. And the judge is a little too friendly with him, in my opinion. And then the other lady, she's just like straight business. I don't know. I just don't like this whole thing.
I don't like how it's going either. I think it's disrespectful to the baby that was left in the trash can. I get that she's trying to be safe about this because she knows he's a bear cat. She knows he is. I mean, he's gotten people off for murder. I mean, that guy that annihilated his family at Sam Donaldson's ranch, he got him off. Another woman, her name's Veronica Bogey, I believe. Her child presented to the ER with extensive cranial damage, and he got her off. So I think she's really trying to be careful with him. That's all I can make of this.
Yeah, I hope so. And again, you know, this girl's 19 years old, so it's not the same procedure than if she were 12 years old.
And she left a baby, her baby, the child that she delivered in the hospital bathroom, when she had medical staff all around her, in the trash can.
I can, and you need to address it in two ways. Number one, what does the presence of the mother do to the medical doctor-patient privilege? That's number one. Number two, what does it do under Miranda suppression rules? Well, the latter first. Under Miranda, it doesn't matter who's present. They have to read her when she's in custody and she couldn't leave. The officers were there. They say it in their reports. And then they don't read her Miranda. The doctor asks a question. And you can't do that. I've cited some cases and wrote on that in the response or the reply to the response. And that's a different situation. And Miranda would still.
You're muted again.
And whether or not that gets suppressed or not is the determination the court has to make. That's a different and separate issue. Now, does the privilege at the hospital apply with the doctors and everything, with the mother being present? My position is, I'll try to do some further research on this. I agree with Diana. We need to do findings and conclusions and give you some case law about this, so you're not deciding this thing in a vacuum. But my position is the doctor-patient privilege still applies, because we do this all the time in hospitals. We have spouses present. We have family members present because they brought them in. And a lot of times the people aren't in their right mind to make decisions anyway and need a family advisor. We do this in hospitals all the time. I'm sorry, it doesn't get, whoa.
Well, okay, you're good.
And the judge knows this better than anyone that's on the Zoom call. Even Chad knows more, the one that's muting everybody. Miranda wasn't required. She was detained. She hadn't been arrested. She wasn't arrested until May. So now we're going to argue Miranda?
Yeah. I remember that doctor going in the room, and she was up against a wall, and she said, you know, we found a baby in the trash can. It looks like you've had a miscarriage, something like that. We're going to have to, you know, call the police, and we're going to have to lifeline you out of here. She had blood all over, apparently, under her clothes, you know, all down her legs and everywhere. I don't know what else to say. When he starts making his point, I just get lost, because it's like just all this unnecessary verbiage to confuse people. He's confusing me.
Well, I just pray that there's a lot of people on that jury with common sense, because this judge is not giving me a lot of hope. It's like she's fangirling him. He's a big-time attorney in New Mexico, so she knows. I mean, she's smiling at him. I mean, there's some judges been like, yeah, I'm not listening to that today. We're not doing that today.
Is she for sure going to be the judge that does the trial, we think now?
I don't know if they'll assign another judge. As of right now, it's her.
Well, let's pray they do.
Wow. It doesn't get rid of the privilege. It's my position.
All right. That's what I really, and that's going to be a real important factor for me to examine and I do think before I make any really hard decisions, you're getting my impressions on stuff, but I would really like.
I'm not getting any impressions. And he's like, and that would be the privilege. He's saying that anything that happened before the bathroom and after the bathroom is protected under HIPAA. In the bathroom is not, but in the bathroom, the only witness is Alexee. Well, I think there's a bigger witness in that bathroom, and that's the baby.
Amen.
The baby was put in a trash bag, wrapped up with paper towels put on top of him.
He don't want to acknowledge that this is a criminal investigation either. You know, it's like he's leaving out all the bad things that make his client look bad. That'd be like going up on a murder scene and going, well, now, we can't, investigate what happened before this or after. You know, that's just ridiculous.
And it's going to be something goofy, like Zoot saying. It's going to become postpartum period psychosis, no jail time. We can help her more by not harming her more. It's going to be something like that. That's what they're going to try to bring up next.
Yeah.
And I'm not down with it. For those of you just coming in, here is our word of the day, brought to you by Colonel Sanders.
Well, as tasty and delicious as it ever was. I'm Colonel Sanders. And I'm back, America. I'm back, America. It's still finger licking good.
Privilege. That's all he keeps talking about. Privilege, privilege, privilege. And every time we do a show about Alexee, I want Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm serious. I get a hankering for it every time.
Boy, not me. It makes me want to not eat there.
Woo! I don't know why. I mean, I'm looking for some biscuits and coleslaw right now.
To have your finding of facts, conclusions of law before I really have studied this. So that's something I'd like both sides to give me some authority on about that. Is it impliedly waived if you allow another person in the room? All right.
All right, Judge, that's that. I think the other issue was this that you had before you today was a modification of the release provisions. Judge Finger cited to the domestic violence section and issued a ruling that my client not have physical contact with her boyfriend, the father of the child. And even though I don't know what he could testify to in this case, that the state considers him a witness.
He's the father of the baby, allegedly. They've been asking him for his DNA. I'm surprised they haven't gotten a subpoena for it yet. What the hell? I don't know what he could provide. Well, he's the one that knocked her up, Colonel. Where do you think chickens come from?
Oh, Lord. He's going to add that he knew. I mean, if he tells the truth, he knew when she started having back pain at his house, apparently. They were spending the night together, that something was going on. I mean, give me a break. He knows she was pregnant.
You're telling me January 27th, 9 months prior, he didn't see her naked one time and didn't think, well, what's going on with your belly and what's kicking in there?
Right. Well, I've been eating too many Big Macs. Oh, okay. Well, I just noticed that you're gaining a lot of weight. Yeah. Kind of looks like you're pregnant.
Yeah. And I honestly think part of what she did in that bathroom is the rumors about how he was cheating on her.
Oh, I forgot about that. That would certainly be a motive, wouldn't it?
Yep. And if he had any rocks in his tiny little sack between his legs, him and his mama would file a civil lawsuit against her for killing his son and their grandchild.
Exactly. How can she just go along with this? It's awful.
They really want to believe that she went to the bathroom alone, holding her ass, that she gives birth in the bathroom, puts the baby in the trash can like she's a medical professional and says it wasn't crying. So that is not a stillborn baby. That is not a stillborn baby.
Nope. Nope.
They can consider him a witness. But here's the problem. And we've honored that. I mean, he was present during legal proceedings, but in the courtroom when we had for example, when we had the preliminary hearing, he was seated in the audience. Here's the problem that I'm asking. They both attend the same university.
Okay.
It's the second largest university in the state, but they both attend the. Yeah, my client is trying to stay at home, and take classes from the university. So we tried to avoid that problem this semester because I didn't have an order and hadn't had this heard before then. But I'm asking that the court take a look at the motion and the state's response, because one, I don't believe we can order that in that fashion because of the cases I cited to the court, including Johnson and some other cases. And two, she has not violated that whatsoever. The judge allowed them to communicate via telephone and or gosh, there's so many different media ways to communicate, but they couldn't be in person. And she's honored that. She doesn't go out at all other than to come to my office. The court allowed her to go see her grandparents. And other than that, she's at home. She doesn't go out. You don't see her at Walmart, anywhere else. But going to college and of course, her professors, even though she's doing this by Zoom, I'm not sure what they're going to require when it comes time for examinations as to whether she can do those via that method or she has to go to down to the university and take examinations. We're trying to avoid all those problems this semester. But in any event, we have some time to consider this, Judge, but wow. In case you need to have more time to look at it, or the state needs more time. But I would ask that restriction of being able to have contact and with her boyfriend be removed, and that and the other reason for bringing this is I didn't want her to get in trouble in another city because they run across each other in a classroom or on the campus, even if it were by accident. I mean, we're just trying to do everything up front. There's not been any issue otherwise. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, let me ask you some questions because I'm kind of limited on what I can pull up and do my own research while I have my screens up here. I can't quite do that. It says I guess the authority that the prohibition was issued is under 3311B. Can you summarize that for me? What is that?
That is the domestic violence statute. Let me hang on just a second, Judge. I can pull it up real quick. Let me get to the argument. Give me just a split second here.
Your Honor, it's the nature of the relationship.
Okay.
That's what the court was citing to in the conditions of release at the pretrial detention, defining continuing personal relationship.
That is correct. But my point is, this is not a domestic violence situation between the two of them whatsoever. And that statute shouldn't apply. What should apply is that we can't, I mean, she hasn't been convicted of anything. She's not on probation. And as long as they don't discuss the case, they should be able to see one another. And that kind of prohibition, and I don't want to get into all the marriage equality cases, but those are the cases in which really the rights that you have in that regard have been explicitly spelled out by.
Again, not a ball in his sack. Not a ball in his sack. He should have a protection order against her. Allegedly, she killed his son, killed their child.
And you can't tell me on this big old campus, one of the largest universities, that there's no way that they can avoid each other. Give me a break. He is trying, just like Rosa, to make this so easy on her. I mean, that's all that matters, is that everything's easy on Lexee.
It doesn't seem to be moving her at all.
Mm-mm.
Like right over his right shoulder, there she is. Hair's not even blowing under the air conditioner.
Mm-mm.
She cannot be bothered with this. Her mom probably dropped her off and said, you make sure you're there.
Our Supreme Court in the cases that I've cited to the court. All right.
Okay. Well, I was wondering because I was thinking that was under some domestic relations ruling. That's what I thought. Okay. So this is under the DV statute? That's the authority that was used to prohibit the contact. It's not because he's a potential witness. Is that right, Miss Luce? He's not going to be a witness in the case.
Your Honor, he could be a witness, but at the point that Judge Finger made in the findings, he mirrored what Judge Shoebridge did in the Alexee Sevilla case. Was that he did not want her to have a relationship that could result in a pregnancy. And we end up in a similar situation again as to what had occurred. That is what Judge Finger was doing in restricting. It was restricting contact. And the state disagrees with defense counsel that the court doesn't have the authority to do that. The analogy would be a DWI case and the court saying you cannot consume alcoholic beverages while this case is pending. Once probable cause is found and probable cause has been found, this court can set restrictions to ensure that there is no conduct that could lead to a further crime involved in this case. And that is why Judge Finger made that restriction. He used that definition because, they weren't married. Maybe they weren't officially boyfriend, girlfriend. He used that continuing personal relationship to say that she was not to have that. The court can look at what happened in the Alexee Sevilla case out of Lovington with Judge Shoebridge.
So they used another precedent from another case, saying that in another case, that's recent, that they said you're not to be around him. We don't want you getting pregnant again, because that creates a totally different mess.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we're not saying there's any domestic violence, but we don't want you around him. For one, they could call him as a witness. I'm surprised she's allowed to stay with her mother. I know that she went to Waco, Texas to be with her dad, her biological dad, for a while. I don't know if she's back with Rosa or not, because they're going to call Rosa.
Oh, you mean she's with that dad that beat her mom so bad that she has scoliosis like she does while she was pregnant? Is that the same dad she went to stay with right now?
Yep, that's the one.
Oh, okay.
He specifically restricted her from having any contact with any male individuals that were not family individuals. Obviously she had people that lived in her home with her because of the nature of what had happened. Recognize in that case that child survived. This case is different. And so the state believes that the court can fashion conditions of release that allows her to attend a university that this same individual could attend. Maybe they're in the same class, maybe they're in the same lab, the same bookstore, the same restaurant, but it's no different. There's no reason for her to have a relationship with this person based on what the facts of this case are at this time. They haven't made any showing that there's any, they didn't bring him in to testify. They didn't bring in a proffer of what's going on. And Your Honor, we believe that that condition is appropriate based on these circumstances. You have to remember, part of the state's case that we believe that is not privileged are her statements she made without being questioned by a doctor, without being questioned by law enforcement. She volunteered statements that she would not have to be given Miranda before she's volunteering a statement. She alleges she's not pregnant. She's not had sex. I mean, all those things.
I'm not pregnant. I haven't had sex. There's no reason to give a Miranda to somebody who's just speaking freely. I mean, ask Sarah Boone. She's telling her whole damn life story, straddling a sticker bush and sucking out of the spigot.
Yes. Yes.
She's volunteering information.
Yeah, that's nobody's fault but her own. No, that's her fault. She did that.
This is 100% on Lexi.
Yep.
So we believe it's an appropriate condition of release. We believe the court can say that she can be in the same classroom with him. She can, she can attend the same campus. That's not what the restriction is.
But it only runs us to this one person in this case, right?
That's right, Judge. It only runs to one person. And I don't want to get into other medical privileges that she has. Suffice it to say, I have made certain that she's had proper medical care since. And with doctors that I have lots of confidence in a different community. And the Judge Finger was confronting and his fear, we've taken great steps to make certain that doesn't happen.
Well, I would really like to look at this more, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify the conditions of release. I'll allow her to go. It's New Mexico State in Las Cruces, right?
That's correct, Your Honor. It is.
Big university, huge. I don't know what the student count is, but I'm sure it's several thousand. Las Cruces is a sizable city. I personally, counsel, I'm really trying to get in my mind how you can invoke a domestic violence prohibition against personal contact. First off, nobody's invoked the DV statute. There's been no allegation of domestic violence. I don't think that translates into this. I really don't. My gut reaction is that does not translate. Granted, you can order that anybody who's under charges cannot commit any further criminal acts. And I certainly think that's absolutely reasonable. She should get her conditions revoked if she gets charged with any further criminal acts. But I don't see how the DV statutes can even be applied in this case, notwithstanding what Judge Schubert said originally or anything else. Certainly, she commits any other criminal act, she should have her conditions of release reviewed, absolutely. But I really don't think that a DV statute defining continuing personal relationship and prohibiting such can be translated into this situation. That's my read on it. Honestly, I think you can stretch that. I do advise that she may not commit any other criminal acts of any sort. I don't want her to get a traffic ticket or anything else. I will let her go to Mexico State. That's a big, big university.
Thank you, Judge. I'll do an order on it.
The hell's she talking about? That's a big, big university. He's the defense attorney, and he's like, I'll do an order on it. Why don't you have Martha down at the court clerk's office do the order on it, who works for the judge?
Yeah. This is crazy. I mean, I just feel like that he's talking her into anything he wants.
Yeah.
You know?
This is really scaring me.
And him talking about those doctors that he knows really well that would be willing to testify and all of that. Well, okay, go ahead, Mr. Doctor. That's going to do really good for your reputation in the future to support something like this.
What doctor, unless it's Dr. Lewis from Letitia
Right.
Stout's trial, is going to get up there and say that baby was stillborn? Which one?
Right?
I got to hear this again. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Is appropriate based on these circumstances. You have to remember, part of the state's case that we believe that is not privileged are her statements she made without being questioned by a doctor, without being questioned by law enforcement. She volunteered statements that she would not have to be given Miranda before she's volunteering a statement. She alleges she's not pregnant. She's not had sex. I mean, all those things. So we believe it's an appropriate condition of release. We believe the court can say that she can be in the same classroom with him. She can attend the same campus. That's not what the restriction is.
But it only runs us to this one person in this case, right?
That's right, Judge. It only runs to one person. And I don't want to get into other medical privileges that she has. Suffice it to say, I have made certain that she's had proper medical care since. And with doctors that I have.
He's made certain that she's had proper medical care. She was at a hospital. They life flighted her to another hospital. What can Colonel Sanders do that they didn't do? They saved her life, to be quite honest. She just didn't give them the opportunity to save her baby boy.
Oh, he's making sure that she's getting medical care now. I don't know. He's probably got her going to a counselor for some type of, defense that we've heard frequently. I feel so much better that an attorney is in charge of this adult's medical care, don't you? I mean, that makes me feel a lot better.
What'd he do? What'd he do? Bring her boyfriend in and show him how to put on a rubber? Is that what he's talking about? Did he counsel these two kids in something their parents should have already done?
And you would think that he would not want them to have contact. My God, does he want her to get pregnant again?
Does he want the case to be messed up by two hormonal kids messing up the case?
Right.
Who knows? It could be a psychiatrist, whatever, OBGYN, something that Rosa obviously never did.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get Rosa's head examined as well. And no offense to anyone that sees a psychiatrist, it needs to be done sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of confidence in a different community. And the Judge Finger was confronting and his fear. We've taken great steps to make certain that doesn't happen.
Well, I would really like to look at this more, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify the conditions of release. I'll allow her to go. It's New Mexico State and Las Cruces, right?
That's correct, Your Honor. It is.
Big university, huge. I don't know what the student count is, but I'm sure it's several thousand. Las Cruces is a sizable city. Personally, counsel, I'm really trying to get in my mind how you can invoke a domestic violence prohibition against personal contact. First off, nobody's invoked the DV statute. There's been no allegation of domestic violence. I don't think that translates into this. I really don't. My gut reaction is that does not translate. Granted, you can order that anybody who's under charges cannot commit any further criminal acts. And I certainly think that's absolutely reasonable. She should get her conditions revoked if she's gets charged with any further criminal acts. But I don't see how the DV statutes can even be applied in this case, notwithstanding what Judge Schubert said originally or anything else. Certainly, she commits any other criminal act, she should have her conditions of release reviewed, absolutely. But I really don't think that a DV statute defining continuing personal relationship and prohibiting such can be translated into this situation. That's my read on it. Honestly, I think you can stretch that. I do advise that she may not commit any other criminal acts of any sort. I don't want her to get a traffic ticket or anything else. I will let her go to Mexico State. That's a big, big university.
Thank you.
So we've already got a win for the defense. That's a big, big university. So more pogo sticks to jump on is what you're saying. They don't want her getting pregnant. They want her at home.
So does it make a difference if it's a small university? That's not even the point. What about a potential conspiracy to commit a crime? What about a potential accessory to commit a crime? What about guilty knowledge? So they need to be together? Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, she's like, this doesn't fit the statute. And they cited another case, a very recent case, where they set the same precedent to keep these two away from each other and he was called as a witness. She threw her baby in a dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
No, she can go. She can go. It's a big school. And I'm like, is your brain broke there, Judge? She put the baby in the trash can.
Well, I think this judge better be worrying about what type of precedent she's setting for these kids growing up today that appear to have no respect for human life, no morals, principles, and these maladaptive coping skills. I hope she is aware of the precedents that they could be setting in this case. That is horrible.
Yeah.
I've never heard it. I've never heard such a thing.
We're talking about first-degree murder, and they're treating her like a damn princess. I'm surprised McDonald's hasn't sent her a year worth of coupons.
Right? Good grief.
Well, some other people have weighed in, and they're saying that old Gary, this is going to be tougher than he thinks. And this is what I want to hear, because I'm really tired of the entitlement, the privilege, in quotes, and them saying that nothing mattered before the bathroom and nothing mattered after. The hell it didn't.
Exactly. That's not true at all.
And what you're going to do is you're going to hurt this jury if you can't bring to them what happened before she got to the ER and ran to the bathroom and what happened after. Because when she jumped in that bed and said, I was scared, it wasn't crying. The jury has got to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants everything contained to what happened in that little bathroom. Well, you know what happened in that little bathroom? She didn't as much as crack the door and say, I need help in here.
Right. She didn't pull the cord. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't do anything.
It's really one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my damn life.
Mm-hmm.
By disposing of him in a hospital trash bin. The defense is claiming, not surprisingly, that her son was stillborn at the time. This is January 27th. And the state is saying, no, this is murder. Treviso facing first-degree murder charges, child abuse, tampering with evidence, etc. So before I bring in my legal panel to talk about this new case, let's look at the defense attorney, Gary Mitchell. He's outlining the important timeline for us from yesterday's hearing.
This entire case hinges around what happens in a bathroom and the emergency room of Artesia General Hospital on the date in question, which was January 27th of 2023. The timeline will tell you that there's one admission sheet that says 12:03, but by 12:05, she's in the emergency room. And then within a few minutes, she receives medication and through an IV, and including morphine and several other different kinds of medication. It's a timeline would reflect. Without getting into that too much, she's examined by an emergency room doctor. She has a nurse that's there. People come in. The hospital asks for a UA, and blood. They do a blood test, and by 12:51, they know that she's pregnant. And then we know, when it comes to this privilege, that according to and they happen to have a video camera or some type of camera in the emergency room part of Artesia General Hospital that shows her leaving her room. And we know from the records that at 1:39, she leaves they go in, they unhook her from the IV, let her get up. She virtually runs down the hall, trots down the hall to the bathroom. And then, according to the police report that you have from Officer Minter of the Artesia Police Department, who reviews that video and goes,
"This is ridiculous. She trots down the hall." No, she ran holding her ass.
Proof to prove that that baby was in fact born alive and that she killed her. So, right there, the timeline of the evidence with the medication that's given, morphine included, to her when she arrives to the hospital doesn't really help the state's case. And the fact that she was in the bathroom for that period of time without any, we'll hear, what the evidence is, but is there evidence that they heard, a baby crying in the bathroom? Then maybe, we've got some good evidence of a live birth. But you have to have evidence of a live birth in order for there to be a murder. So I think that it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle with that timeline.
Yeah, I understand. Obviously, we're way premature in this thing, but I understand there's been some medical records suggesting that the child had oxygen in its lungs, or at least had evidence of having taken a breath. That's pretty clear sample of maybe life and not stillbirth. Anyway, the defense here, Rich, is arguing an interesting privilege question, I think, with the video footage from the hallway. And we're going to see that in just a moment here. I don't know that would be protected under the client-patient privilege. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just video footage of somebody in a hospital. That's not an interaction with your medical provider. I think of the patient privilege as being, your communications with your doctor, not what you do in the hospital on the way to see a doctor or in between seeing a doctor. So depending on exactly what the video is of, I'm not sure the privilege would apply either.
Yeah, so we'll see how that shakes out as this thing gets closer to formal trial, if that's going to happen. We do have some body cam footage too from the night in question. Let's watch some of that.
Pregnancy test on her showed positive. She was denying that she had sex. Then she said she had to go to the bathroom. She went to the bathroom. She was in there for quite a while. We kept knocking on the door. Finally, we got her to open the door, and there was blood everywhere. She was cleaning it up. Okay. So we took her back to the room, and I was afraid that she knew she was pregnant. She had done something to herself. Mm-hmm. So the doctor started doing a vaginal exam on her. We had the lady come to clean the bathroom. She put the baby in the trash can, and then she put another clean liner over the top of it. Oh, wow. Okay. So when they looked in there, there was no trash in there, but it was underneath the clean bag. The baby's dead. Okay, we have him in trauma too, but she killed the kid.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It came out of me and I didn't know what to do.
Alexee, I told you about this.
She said, "I'm sorry. It came out of me. I didn't know what to do." She goes on to say, I was scared. Now, why is the mother saying, "Alexee, I told you about this"? It's one thing to say, tell me if, you start fooling around. It's another thing to say, "Hey, by the way, if you happen to get pregnant, don't kill your baby."
Right, right. Like when my daughter was pregnant, never in my wildest dreams did we sit down and have a conversation and say, "Oh, girl, you know them girls that try to kill their babies or, you know, get rid of them afterwards? You know, I mean, why would you talk about that? That is ridiculous."
No, we're going to go to the doctor. We're going to go look at the ultrasound. You know, we're going to start buying clothes, get a baby shower, and you know that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but I mean, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth. It was not crying or nothing. What did you do to it? Okay, stop right here. Stop.
Do you guys have, I'm the charge nurse here. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Like, how big is the baby?
It's full term.
What? 9 months? Nothing was crying.
Well, right now she's being detained, so she's not going to leave from here at all. Period. Okay. So one of us will
Is
be
it in your custody? Like,
Yeah, she's detained. Yeah, she's not under arrest, but she is detained. Okay, she's not free to leave.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's some crazy body cam footage there. And you see the mother, the young girl, she's so tiny and she was full term, 9 months. Rich Schoenstein, Krista Ramey. Krista, you know, I don't know how you hide that, first of all. And she was a cheerleader, too, which is also kind of something that Skylar Richardson was. But how do you hide that kind of pregnancy? And then, follow-up question, how do you hide giving birth? I don't care if the child cries or not. How does she not cry, the mother?
Well, remember, you're not developing a healthy pregnancy here if you're hiding it. So you're not going through the normal weight gain that you would go through because you're eating for two. You're taking vitamins. You're intentionally getting the nutrients that's required to carry a baby to term. You're trying to hide it. So, you know, assuming that, you know, some weight gain is normal in children at various ages, particularly in their teens and their, you know, I would assume that, you know, it can be hidden, you know, baggy clothes, whatever, you know, I don't know, but I don't know that, you know, how you hide that from your family for that long. And, you know, it can happen. Apparently it does though. This is not the first case we're hearing of. It's not even the second case. It's a frequent occurrence, unfortunately. So,
you know, with this case and with Skylar Richardson, they were both very tiny people, and they hit it. Yeah. You know, it's amazing to me, Rich, and I haven't given birth yet. I'm not counting out the possibility. You know, it could happen, but I would imagine that it's you know, to do that quietly for 18 minutes in a bathroom. I don't know how you control that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, listen, I've never given birth either, but I have attended 2 of them.
Yes.
And they were very loud events in all respects. The mother was loud, the new baby was loud. So it is hard to imagine that happening and nobody hearing anything, you know, if it's happening in the bathroom. I mean, the whole thing seems tragic. I wish we lived in a country where we prioritized healthcare and women's rights and reproductive decision-making. But since we apparently don't, I think we might see more and more of this kind of thing.
Okay, and that is Rich Schoenstein officially on his soapbox. So he's going to step off of that. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back more on the other side.
See, and they're not helping either. I don't know who the hell Law and Crime works for, but they can't ever pick a side. And I guess, I mean, I know that they can't point and say that person did it. This is what I think. But they, you know, they play it way too safe. And it's just such a bad message to send out.
Absolutely. I just can't believe the lack. I mean, I don't know how the chat feels, but I'm sure that anybody can see that this is just the biggest bunch of baloney. I mean, these attorneys and everything else, they'll just do anything. I swear sometimes. I don't mean to be generalizing everybody, but these defense attorneys, I swear I could never do that. You know, making all these excuses. Everything has been just made so convenient and accommodating for her. Why? How did her mom afford this big lawyer? What has happened behind the scenes? I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Oh, no. I mean, that's what we're here to do, because we don't know until the trial comes out and all the evidence is put out. I mean, how is she affording Gary Mitchell unless he decided that this is a huge case and it's going to help his law firm, but he doesn't really need the help. He's already a big name down there.
Yeah.
How did they afford the $100,000 bond? Where'd they get 10 grand? Did they put it against their house?
Right.
There's a lot of questions going on.
Mm-hmm.
And what I don't understand is how it used to be you hurt a child, you hurt a baby, it's fire and brimstone is coming down on you. And now it's, oh, it could be postpartum. Oh, it could be mental illness. Oh, like they make all these excuses for these women. I mean, that chick that threw the baby in the dumpster, would she get like 15 years?
Mm.
I mean,
Doesn't
she's probably going to be out in 5.
Yeah. I don't understand, Brooks. I don't understand, because if you think about it, her attorney and the judge are just continuing to treat her like her mother did. I mean, no accountability, no responsibility. She didn't know she was pregnant. Okay, I'll never buy that, ever.
No. I mean, like I said, I've said it, I said it on the first show. Went to school with a girl, and she played basketball, the whole 9 yards. Nobody suspected she was pregnant. Well, she didn't come to school for the rest of the year. This happened in April. We found out she had a baby. Nobody knew. But all of her friends have told, I say her friends, if she has any real friends, have said the Daily Mail, there was tons of whispers. I mean, the kids knew that her belly was big.
Yep, they sure did. Apparently, a lot of people at school knew that. So maybe they'll have some of those people as a trial. Things that they saw her do, or I don't know, that would be hearsay, but maybe knowledge that they have or something. I mean, this is just the biggest bunch of baloney. It just infuriates me, especially when I think about the charge nurse and the nurses and the housekeeper. If that happened to me and then they were trying to do this to me, don't think I wouldn't countersue them, because I would be livid and traumatized from this.
That's what I was hoping would happen. I was hoping that people would start suing Alexee. Obviously, Gary's her attorney. He might say, oh, I can't handle that, but put a lot on his plate. It would speak volumes if Mr. Boyfriend and Mr. Boyfriend's mama would file a civil suit for wrongful death against her.
Yes, ma'am.
Try eating that up, but they won't do it. They're not doing anything. They're just sitting there going to college. We're going to college. And what's her ass going to do in college? I heard she wants to be a nurse.
Oh my God. Don't. Oh my God. Like that nurse in England that just got arrested, or wherever in the UK, Lucy. Oh my God. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring another case up, but
that's okay.
These are the kind of people that inject babies with insulin. I'm sorry to say that, but I mean, I'm just really mad.
It's just horrific. And I just cannot believe how dense they all are. There was a baby face down in a trash can. Now it's going to come down to the experts and the autopsy and her lies from the minute she came in to the minute she left.
Yeah.
She said, I'm a virgin. I'm not pregnant.
Nope. She wasn't honest. You cannot expect to get treatment for something if you don't tell them what the problem is. How in the world would anybody have suspected? Okay, like that charge nurse said, I was afraid she was going to harm herself. Okay, like that, I can understand that. That's understandable based upon everything you've seen so far before the event happened, but no, this is sickening. And I'm mad as a taxpayer. I'm mad as a human. I'm mad as a nurse. I'm mad as a mother that it's just forget about the baby. The baby, just discount the baby that was in the plastic bag with the moisture in it. Nothing matters except that Lexi gets to go to college, and she just made a mistake. You know, it was just a mistake.
And got to go to prom.
Yeah.
Got to walk at graduation. I agree with Snazzy. She said, I would not be surprised if a school nurse is called, or like a school counselor, to testify that she spoke and offered advice on prenatal care. Because,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
she's 19. It's no crime to be pregnant. I
Mhm.
mean, even if she was 16, they're going to pull her to the side and just say, I mean, I see that, you know, you're, you look like you could be pregnant. Have you talked to your mom about this? Have you been to the doctor? Don't think they're not going to pull the school into this.
What about the cheer coaches too?
Yeah.
They'll probably had a conversation with her. It's infuriating, isn't it? It's disgusting.
Absolutely. But I want to say thank you to our friend Angel for lending her expertise to us. Let's have a big round of applause for our friend Angel. Rhonda said, I am so angry. Everyone's saying, thank you, Angel. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Angel.
Oh, thank you, Brooks. I'm not an expert. I'm just, again, just a normal nurse. That I'm horrified by, all of this. I'm horrified by it. And I have something to say before I go. What Just Me always says, hold your children accountable when they are young, because look what can happen. You're making a monster if you don't. But thank you very much for having me up here, and everybody have a good day, and I'll see you down in chat, Brooks.
Absolutely. Snazzy said, thank you for the super sticker. She said, wouldn't she need a doctor's note to be allowed to continue cheer? They have to have a sports physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know this, but a lot of people take their kids to chiropractors to get them, and they don't give pregnancy tests. So when she had her physical in July or August, she probably didn't have to take a pregnancy test.
That's right. Wow. Well, justice is coming for this baby, because, anybody with a heart and common sense hopefully can say that this is just a big facade of trying to cover up, be secretive, manipulate the system any way you can to take care of self and self only. No compassion for human life, for that baby. It's disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting, because all we're hearing about is McDonald's, prom, Las Cruces going to school. Nothing is ever mentioned about the baby that had air in his lungs, air in his tummy, and was left face down, wrapped in a trash bag.
Yeah.
And that is what is sick. Well, guys, if I don't see you around in Discord today or one of the Facebook groups, then I'll see. Oh, I lost Angel. Then I will see you back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm not sure what the show is going to be about. I need to work on some stuff about Sarah Boone, because our girl Sarah's at it again. She's at it again. But there's some more stuff coming out about her. So I want to wait to see if I'm going to do that show tomorrow or on Tuesday. So either way, we're going to be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you, Mod Squad. Thank you, everyone. We have a lot of new members in here today. I want to say thank you to Dawn for becoming a new member, Izzy for the super sticker, Mama for the super sticker, Muscles for the super sticker. Kurtz became a new member and left a super sticker. Lily. Sherry's been a member for 9 months. Ree for 10 months. Just Cat had to tell us all about McDonald's and KFC, which was hilarious. Snazzy, thank you for the super sticker, and for all of you for being here, because, well, it's pretty simple. Without all of you guys, there wouldn't be a channel. So I'll see you back here again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Stay cool, which is hard to do in this heat, but do the best you can. And I'll see you back here tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for everything.